Hey everyone. So today I wanted to talk about different initialisms in relation to gender when it comes to various online communities. Now, some of these initialisms might mean different things in different places, but this is in relation to gender and the communities that they belong to. Now, those initialisms are CD, TV, TS, and TG. And we'll be going over what those are and who uses them, what they mean. Now, the definitions, not everyone might agree on them. I tried picking definitions that seem to be how the majority of people felt about them in those communities, but there is always debate amongst some people of what those definitions should be and what they should include. So I tried doing it to the best of my ability. So it might not fit everybody's definition, so just giving you a heads up before we move forward. The first one is CD, which stands for crossdresser. Now, a crossdresser is somebody that identifies usually as the gender that they were assigned at birth, but they like clothing, accessories, things like that of another gender. Now, they may or may not try to present as another gender, but they ultimately identify as the gender that they were assigned at birth. The second initialism that I'll be going over is TV, which stands for transvestite. Now, this is a somewhat dated term. A lot of people are not a fan of this term. A lot of people that used it in the past now prefer the term crossdresser. Now, people feel that it has a negative connection to it in the past. This is a word that its meaning has evolved countless times, probably over the last 50 or 60 years. So usually most people do not like using TV. They don't want to be referred to as transvestites. Now, sometimes I see older people use TV instead of CD, and sometimes I see people from non-English speaking countries use TV in their profiles. So that's something to keep in mind. So like I'm kind of doing this mostly from an American view. So, it might be similar in other countries like Canada or England that also speak English in a lot of parts of the country. But in other countries, they might still use TV. I think a lot of people aren't too big on TV because it often gets connected also sometimes to it making it out to be more sexual due to a past DSM definition. So ultimately try to avoid TV, so because not too many people are big on the terminology. The next initialism is TS, which stands for transsexual. Now, this is a term that I'm seeing less and less, but not because people don't identify as it or dislike the word, but I feel they are just kind of using more abbreviated language or umbrella terms. Now, a transsexual is a person that identifies as a different gender than the one they were assigned at birth. And often they have a strong desire to change their gender, whether it be through medication or surgeries. Now, this doesn't mean that a person will do those things, but they often have a strong desire to change their gender socially or any means possible. Not all transsexual people choose to transition, but they have that desire often inside of them. The last initialism is TG, which stands for transgender. Now, this seems to be a pretty popular used initialism these days. Transgender is an umbrella term that includes all sorts of people that identify as a different gender than they were assigned at birth. or use a different gender expression. Now, what is included in that umbrella is ultimately debated, and there isn't really a clear consensus on it. Now, there are some groups that are absolutely always included in it, and other groups that aren't. An example of a group that might be debated if they should be included in the transgender umbrella would be, say, crossdressers, or some of the bigger umbrellas that include a lot of things might include them, but I think most of the umbrellas don't include cross-dressers in them. So just keep in mind that a lot of people have different definitions of what the transgender umbrella ultimately includes. So transgender and transsexual are not necessarily the same. So as an example, somebody can be both transsexual and transgender, but that does not necessarily mean that all transgender people are transsexual. So say like a transsexual person would be one type of person that is included under the transgender umbrella. So different types of non-binary identities can be included in this. Often entertainers like drag kings and queens are generally not included in this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. There'll be videos every week.